You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
Bad actors don't break in, they log in. Attackers use stolen credentials in nearly 9 out of 10 data breaches. And once inside, they're after one thing: your data. Varonis's AI-powered data security platform secures your data at scale. Across LaaS, SaaS, and hybrid cloud environments, join thousands of organizations who trust Varonis to keep their data safe. Get a free data risk assessment at varonis.com. Russia's flagship airline suffers a major cyber attack. U.S. insurance giant Allianz Life confirms the compromise of personal data belonging to most of its 1.4 million customers. A women's dating safety app spills the tea. NASCAR confirms a data breach. Researchers believe the newly emerged Chaos ransomware group may be a rebrand of BlackSuit. Over 200,000 WordPress sites remain vulnerable to account takeover attacks. Lawmakers introduce legislation to stop AI price gouging and wage fixing. States band together to regulate data brokers. My Caveat co-host Ben Yelin explains the impending expiration of the Cybersecurity and Information Sharing Act. And Expel missed the mark, but nails the apology. It's Monday, July 28th, 2025. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us. It is great to have you with us here today. Russia's flagship airline Aeroflot suffered a major cyber attack Monday, causing over 50 flight cancellations and widespread delays, especially on key domestic routes. The airline blamed a technical failure, but pro-Ukrainian hackers Silent Crow and the Belarusian cyber partisans claimed responsibility. They say they destroyed Aeroflot's IT infrastructure, stole flight data, and maintained network access for over a year. Disruptions also hit subsidiaries, and Aeroflot's stock dropped nearly 4%. At Moscow's Sheremetyevo airport, stranded passengers were given food and asked to leave terminals to reduce crowding. The Kremlin confirmed the breach, and prosecutors have opened a case. This is among the most publicly acknowledged cyber attacks in Russia, adding to recent cyber and drone strikes linked to Ukraine's war effort. U.S. insurance giant Allianz Life has confirmed a mid-July cyber attack that compromised personal data belonging to most of its 1.4 million customers, financial professionals, and some employees. Hackers accessed a third-party cloud-based CRM system using social engineering, the company said in a filing with Maine's Attorney General. While Allianz Life didn't share how many individuals were affected, it acknowledged the breach impacted the majority of its U.S. stakeholders. The company notified the FBI and said there's no evidence other systems were compromised. It declined to name the attackers or confirm if a ransom demand was received. This breach is part of a broader wave of cyber attacks hitting the insurance sector. Google researchers recently linked several incidents to Scattered Spider, the hacker group known for exploiting help desk vulnerabilities. The women's dating safety app T, which recently topped the App Store, confirmed a data breach that exposed personal data and selfies of thousands of users. The breach stemmed from an unsecured Firebase database, allowing 4chan users to access and post photos, including driver's licenses and ID selfies. T says the exposed data, dating back 2 years, included 72,000 images, 13,000 of which were user-submitted for verification. The company acknowledged some direct messages were also compromised. The data was originally retained to comply with anti-cyberbullying laws. FT claims the issue is now contained, with no evidence current user data is affected. Security experts have been brought in to investigate. The breach highlights ongoing concerns over data privacy and platform security in apps targeting vulnerable user groups. NASCAR is notifying individuals that their personal data, including names and social security numbers, was stolen in a cyberattack discovered on April 3rd of this year. Hackers had access to its network from March 31st through April 3rd. NASCAR launched an investigation, informed law enforcement, and is offering up to 2 years of free credit monitoring. While the number of affected individuals remains undisclosed, the Medusa ransomware group claims it stole 1 terabyte of data and demanded $4 million. NASCAR hasn't confirmed this claim. Cisco Talos believes the newly emerged Chaos ransomware group may be a rebrand of BlackSuit, itself a successor to Royal Ransomware. Talos cites similar encryption techniques, ransom note structure, and use of built-in system tools in both Chaos and BlackSuit attacks. Just as Talos released its analysis, law enforcement seized BlackSuit's Tor-based leak site as part of Operation Checkmate, a global effort involving the US, UK, Germany, and others. BlackSuit had listed around 200 victims by July of this year and had extorted over $500 million since 2023. The gang targeted sectors like healthcare, education, IT, and government, encrypting Windows and Linux systems and leveraging stolen data for extortion. Royal Ransomware, which BlackSuit succeeded, had hit more than 350 organizations by late 2023. Over 200,000 WordPress websites remain vulnerable due to an unpatched version of the post-SMTP plugin, exposing them to account takeover attacks. The flaw affects versions up to 3.2.0 and stems from weak access controls in the plugin's REST API, allowing low-level users to access email logs. Hackers could exploit this to reset and hijack administrator accounts. A fix was issued in the latest version on June 11th, but less than half of users have updated, leaving many sites at risk. Representatives Greg Kassar and Rashida Tlaib, both Democrats, have introduced the Stop AI Price Gouging and Wage Fixing Act, aimed to ban corporations from using AI surveillance to set prices or wages based on personal data. The bill follows Delta Airlines' rollout of AI-driven dynamic pricing, affecting 3% of fares, with plans to scale up. Critics argue such practices exploit private consumer data to charge more or lower pay, often without transparency. The Federal Trade Commission has reported that surveillance pricing is already happening, with companies using data like device type, location, and shopping history to adjust prices. The bill would empower the FTC, states, and private citizens to act against these tactics. However, with Republican control of Congress, the legislation faces slim odds of passing despite growing public concern over AI-driven price manipulation. Vermont State Representative Monique Priestley is leading a multi-state initiative to regulate data brokers following the fatal June shooting of a Minnesota lawmaker and her husband. The suspected gunman reportedly had a list of data broker sites. Priestley, a longtime advocate for data privacy, convened a virtual meeting with lawmakers from over 25 states, where 15 expressed immediate interest in legislation. The group discussed 3 main approaches: creating data broker registries, enabling mass deletion of personal data, like California's Delete Act, and offering protections for public officials, modeled after New Jersey's Daniels Law. Lawmakers shared personal safety concerns and were alarmed by how easily personal information can be bought online. Despite industry lobbying and skepticism about whether it's too late, Priestley says the momentum is real. Her working group will continue sharing resources and drafting coordinated state-level legislation to improve data transparency and protect individuals from unchecked data brokerage practices. Coming up after the break, Ben Yelin explains the impending expiration of the Cybersecurity and Information Sharing Act, and Expel missed the mark but nails the apology. Stick around. Compliance regulations, third-party risk, and customer security demands are all growing and changing fast. Is your manual GRC program actually slowing you down? If you're thinking there has to be something more efficient than spreadsheets, screenshots, and all those manual processes, you're right. GRC can be so much easier, and it can strengthen your security posture while actually driving revenue for your business. You know, one of the things I really like about Vanta is how it takes the heavy lifting out of your GRC program. Their trust management platform automates those key areas: compliance, internal and third-party risk, and even customer trust, so you're not buried under spreadsheets and endless manual tasks. Vanta really streamlines the way you gather and manage information across your entire business. And this isn't just theoretical. A recent IDC analysis found that compliance teams using Vanta are 129% more productive. It's a pretty impressive number. So what does it mean for you? It means you get back more time and energy to focus on what actually matters, like strengthening your security posture and scaling your business. Vanta, GRC. Just imagine how much easier trust can be. Visit vanta.com/cyber to sign up today for a free demo. That's vanta.com/cyber. Hey everybody, Dave here. I've talked about Delete Me before, and I'm still using it because it still works. It's been a few months now, and I'm just as impressed today as I was when I signed up. Delete Me keeps finding and removing my personal information from data broker sites, and they keep me updated with detailed reports, so I know exactly what's been taken down. I'm genuinely relieved knowing my privacy isn't something I have to worry about every day. The Delete Me team handles everything. It's the set it and forget it peace of mind. And it's not just for individuals. Delete Me also offers solutions for businesses, helping companies protect their employees' personal information and reduce exposure to social engineering and phishing threats. And right now, our listeners get a special deal, 20% off your Delete Me plan. Just go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and use promo code N2K at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/N2K, code N2K. And it is always my pleasure to welcome back to the show Ben Yelin. He is from the University of Maryland Center for Cyber Health and Hazard Strategies. Ben, welcome back.
Good to be with you again, Dave.
Interesting story that you and I talked about over on Caveat. This is about a key cybersecurity bill, or law, I should say, that is quite popular and is in peril of expiring. What's going on here, Ben?
So this is the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act. It was enacted in 2015 and has been described as the most successful piece of cyber legislation in the country. The reason it's been described as so successful is that it allows a platform to facilitate voluntary information sharing. And that's been extremely useful in both the public and private sectors. Having that communications vehicle where you can share threats, threat vectors, whether what's happened to your system might happen to one of your competitors or somebody else in the industry, it's been invaluable. And this program has its bipartisan boosters. So the Trump administration supports an extension of the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act, which is known as CISA 2015. It gets a little confusing because CISA is also the name of the agency, but the act itself is generally known as CISA 2015. There's bipartisan support in the House and the Senate, but for somewhat arcane congressional reasons, there is certainly a risk that this law does not get extended by the time the expiration date comes, which is September 30th.
Okay.
So in the House, the person who was the chair of the Committee of Jurisdiction, the House Homeland Security Committee, did not have this bill as one of his priorities. He had held markups on other pieces of legislation, but had not brought a reauthorization of CISA 2015 in front of his committee. This committee chair just resigned Congress to take a job in the private sector. So they have a new committee chair who was just selected. But that chair, there's a question whether that chair is going to have enough time between now and September 30th, given that the House is scheduled to take a 5-week congressional recess, whether they're going to have enough time to hold a committee hearing, to mark up the bill, and then have it considered on the floor of both chambers of Congress. Then in the Senate, you have bipartisan support in one of the committees of jurisdiction, which is the Senate Armed Services Committee. The chair and ranking member, respectively, of that committee wrote a letter advocating that the bill be reauthorized. The ranking Democrat on the Senate Homeland Security bill has introduced a bill for providing for a clean authorization of this law. But the holdup could relate to the chair of the House Homeland Security, which is Senator Rand Paul. Rand Paul opposed the CISA 2015 Act when it was first enacted in 2015 out of concerns for data security, data privacy, and that this was just an overreach of federal authority. That as a libertarian like himself, he doesn't believe that this is a proper function of the federal government or the executive branch. And he has not held hearings on reauthorizing this law. His office hasn't responded to request for comment on whether that's something that he supports. So it's very unclear because of those reasons whether we're going to get reauthorization by September 30th.
And what happens if we don't?
So just hearing from people in the private sector, I think the consequences could be pretty significant. In the article that we're getting this from, which was written by Politico in their weekly cybersecurity news roundup, they quote a couple of private sector folks. James Hayes, who is Senior Vice President of Global Government Affairs at Tenable, says that the law remains one of the most effective methods for enabling real-time collaboration between the government and the private sector in the face of evolving cyber threats, and that letting it lapse would be a step backwards. Similarly, John Miller, Senior Vice President of the Information Technology Industry Council, said that this is arguably the most successful cyber law we've passed in this country, and to let it lapse for no reason would just be unfortunate, to say the least. You'd lose that platform for information sharing, and that's a tool that's just been so successful in rooting out threats both domestically and internationally. And so if you lose that platform, it's just a loss of a really important tool that we have to protect ourselves against cyber threats.
So what happens if Senator Paul stands strong on principle and says, I'm not going to waver on this? Can he just hold it indefinitely?
He has a lot of procedural tools that he could use to hold it. If there is sufficient support in the rest of the Senate, there are ways where you could discharge the bill from that committee, even without the committee chair's support, and hold a vote on the House floor or on the Senate floor. And we've seen that happen in the past. But certainly as a committee chair and just as an individual senator, you have a lot of power to gum up the works. And if this is something that Senator Paul wants to go to the mat for, he's been the type of guy where, we just need the government funded by midnight. Please hold a vote on this continuing resolution, but we need the consent of all 100 senators to hold that vote. Rand Paul's the guy that says, nope, you can vote on Monday.
Right.
So he's certainly someone who's been known to gum up the works for, I think, reasons that he sees as legitimate. He just has a very consistent ideology against an expansive federal government. And I think his view of this bill comes from those convictions.
All right. Well, Ben Yelin is from the University of Maryland Center for Cyber Health and Hazard Strategies, but also, more importantly than any of that, he is my co-host on the Caveat podcast. Ben, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Dave.
Did you know Active Directory is targeted in 9 out of 10 cyber attacks? Once attackers get in, they can take control of your entire network. That's why Sempris created Purple Knight, the free security assessment tool that scans your Active Directory for hundreds of vulnerabilities and shows you how to fix them. Join thousands of IT pros using Purple Knight to stay ahead of threats. Download it now at sempris.com/purple-knight. That's sempris.com/purple-knight. Bad actors don't break in, they log in. Attackers use stolen credentials in nearly 9 out of 10 data breaches, and once inside, they're after one thing: your data. Varonis' AI-powered data security platform secures your data at scale. Across LaaS, SaaS, and hybrid cloud environments, join thousands of organizations who trust Varonis to keep their data safe. Get a free data risk assessment at varonis.com. And finally, researchers at Expel recently issued a heartfelt correction to a blog post about a phishing incident, showing integrity and commitment to transparency. Initially, the company believed an attacker had bypassed a FIDO passkey-protected login using cross-device authentication. However, after engaging with the security community and reanalyzing the evidence, Expel confirmed that while credentials were phished, the attacker never bypassed MFA or accessed protected resources. We commend Expel for owning the mistake, openly explaining the error, and updating their review processes. Their appreciation for feedback, especially from the FIDO Alliance and other security pros, shows humility and a genuine dedication to learning. By committing to clearer evidence and deeper scrutiny in future posts, Expel reinforces trust in their work. Mistakes happen, but the way Expel handled this one speaks volumes. Kudos for setting an example of accountability in cybersecurity and for valuing the Defender community every step of the way. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. Don't forget to check out the Grumpy Old Geeks podcast, where I contribute to a regular segment on Jason and Brian's show every week. You can find Grumpy Old Geeks where all the fine podcasts are listed. We'd love to hear from you. We're conducting our annual audience survey to learn more about our listeners. We're collecting your insights through the end of August. There's a link in the show notes. Please take a minute and check it out. N2K's senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our CyberWire producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Trey Hester with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Krogel is AI built for the enterprise SOC, fully private, schema-free, and capable of running in sensitive air-gapped environments. Krogel autonomously investigates thousands of alerts weekly, correlating insights across your tools without data leaving your perimeter. Designed for high availability across geographies, it delivers context-aware, auditable decisions aligned to your workflows. Krogel empowers analysts to act faster and focus on critical threats, replacing repetitive triage with intelligent automation to help your SOC operate at scale with precision and control. Learn more at Krogel.com. That's Krogl.com.